You're now listening to the Thousand Story Podcast, presented by Thousand Story.
What episode? What episode is this?
20.
Episode 20.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Rice Krispies. No, it's not.
No. Wish. LaCroix. Enjoy a LaCroix. I also wish. Today's episode is brought to you by water. Good old tap water. You can find it in your tap, inside your home.
Them tried and true municipals.
Yep.
Welcome to the Thousand Story Podcast. We are your hosts, Naji.
And Luis. I'm drinking that tap water that we're sponsored by right now. So
Indeed. And it's been a minute. So this is episode 20. Congrats to us. You know, made it that far. Beautiful message. But more than that, this is we've kind of been switching it up. So this season we decided to pre-record most of the guest episodes and then save like 5 of them for, you know, kind of real-time stuff, like stuff that's happening right now. So when you're hearing this shit happened last week. You feel me?
Yeah.
So with that being said, what has happened in this past week, Luis?
There's been a lot going on, actually. So things we're going to talk about today, okay? First of all, Apple is releasing their streaming service. More information about their streaming service. Not their actual full streaming service. But so that's actually today. They're releasing it today. As the day that you're hearing this, which is March 25th. Is that the date?
No, March 20th. When they're hearing it.
When they're hearing it.
That's right.
When this episode is dropping, March 25th is when they're releasing information. So if you're hearing this on the first day, check out some information on Apple. We're also going to be talking about Disney because they're also creating a streaming service, Disney Plus. And there's a lot of information that's come out about that. Also, last week, Cuco signed a deal.
That was a big deal.
It was a crazy deal with Interscope Records. And we're also talking about Naji quitting music.
Oh? You know, so we'll get more into that. We'll see. We'll see what's going on with that. But first, let's dive into this Apple business. So if you're not familiar, Apple themselves, you know, so Apple Inc., you know, Steve Jobs, rest in peace, that company who owns your iPhone.
I mean, I love Steve Jobs. He was kind of a dick, though.
But hey, you know, he made good products.
Hey, man, we wouldn't have touchscreen phones if it wasn't for him. He was a visionary. He was a visionary.
But now because they're seeing declines maybe not because of it, but in recent times, Apple has been seeing declines in the iPhone sales finally.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, people are realizing that after Steve Jobs died, you know, the ingenuity that went into and the vision that went into creating new products kind of dissipated. So they just kind of made different versions of the iPhone, right? And they just kind of kept changing little things about it. And
it's honestly not even really been changing that much. Like, they've just been changing specs. You know, like the new iPhones, the XR or the XS, whatever they are.
There's XS, XR.
It's the same phone as the iPhone X, the iPhone 10. With just like slight modifications on the cameras and the AI chips. Like there's not really much.
They're not you know, they're not evolving. They're just
they're not creating something new.
And
you know,
and it shows in their sales. So recently, it was either earlier this year or last year, they released their sales report for, I think it was Q4 for last year. Mm-hmm. And they finally saw that iPhone sales were peaking and starting to decline. And did decline considerably. So as a result, and again, I don't know if it's a direct result, but they started moving more into the service domain and the software domain.
Yes.
So they started basically putting more priority on services that they offer, like iCloud, and they're going to be building out more app-based services and utilities to kind of bring Apple back into the forefront of tech, not just the hardware side, because they've mainly been in the hardware game with the iPhone, the iPad, the Macs, MacBook Pros, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and now they're Apple Home system.
And the Apple Home
series.
All of that. So now that they're moving back into the software sector, actually, I don't think they really ever...
But they have a lot of software. I mean, because they bought out Logic. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
So any musicians who use Logic, that's an Apple product. They have GarageBand, which is basically baby Logic.
Yep. Logic Lite.
You know? Yeah, Logic Lite. Well, they have their their native apps, even like Pages, their presentation. I don't even remember what they're called.
But they have a few apps.
Yeah.
Oh, Final Cut Pro.
Final Cut Pro, which is huge.
Yep. And so they've been in the software game, and they are powerhouses, but only in very specific, like for production type purposes. So they're trying to get more into the consumer-based type software realm. Yeah. So a lot of the cloud-based storage service type thing. So they already have iCloud, which is a service that if you have Mac products you're familiar with, but it's like Google Drive, but it's a virtual storage service that's synced up with Apple products. So if you have an iPhone or MacBook or anything within that ecosystem, you're able to store your files, store your passwords, notes, that kind of thing on their service. So no matter what, all your devices are synced up.
It's actually pretty useful. Like for me, I've used it for like photos.
Right.
Like if there's a photo on my iPhone, it's also on my iPad, and it's also on my Mac.
It's also been used negatively. Well, not used, but it's been hacked. So if you heard the great what was the scandal called?
I think they called it the fappening.
Oh, the fappening.
That's what it was called.
I called it Nipplegate. I said Nipplegate.
Nipplegate? No, they called it the fappening.
The fappening.
Where major celebrities had their iCloud accounts hacked. And whoever hacked it just released every celebrity's nudes, basically. Yeah, it was crazy. I think that happened in 2011.
That was way back when.
It was
since that point they've bolstered their security. Bolstered a lot to assure people that their services are safe, and they've been trying to move more into the service and software sector.
Yes.
So as a result, we're going to see hopefully less focus on the newest iPhone model, and they're going to start rolling out more useful software to use on your current iPhone, which is nice.
This is amazing.
But one of those things, if we're talking about software, is that they're developing their own streaming service to compete with Netflix and Hulu.
And there's so many, though. There's so many now. HBO Go. But yeah, they've actually put in $1 billion so far in creating original content for their streaming service.
Yeah.
They have, I was reading that they have 5 original TV shows that have already completed filming.
Interesting. Okay,
which was the Octavia Spencer, it's a drama called Are You Sleeping? So we already have some information on certain shows that they're putting out. There's something else called For All Mankind, which is a space drama by the producer Ronald D. Moore, who did Battlestar Galactica and Outlander. I don't know if you saw Battlestar Galactica.
I didn't. I knew
it's a really good show, though.
I always thought there were Battlestar Galactica fans. There were Star Trek fans.
Yeah. They did a reboot, though, of Battlestar Galactica, and that was this dude, and that got way more popular than the original. So, M. Night Shyamalan. Shyamalan? M. Night Shyamalan is also doing a thriller,
which I'm scared about. He does not have a good track record as of recent. His last good films, I think.
What's he doing now, though? What are films that he's...
Well, that's a good question. Well, we know the blunder that is Avatar.
Oh, that was the worst.
The Last Airbender.
That was so bad.
It was so bad.
It was sad.
But then he doubled down when he started. He was a producer, I think, on Will Smith and Jaden's project, like Earth something. Remember when they came out with that joint movie?
No, but he's doing pretty well right now because he did Split and Glass.
Got it.
So the past few movies that he's put out have been pretty decent. But yeah, he did go through a period of
it was rough.
Right after The Lady in the Water. You remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember that one.
The Village was great though.
I did.
You don't like it?
Village is
I was really into it.
Wait, that is the one. Is that the one with Zooey Deschanel? And
No. The Village is the one where it's these pilgrims living in, and then there's monsters attacking them, and then at the very end, spoiler alert, turn it off if you don't want to hear this, and then at the very end, we find out that they're living in modern day, but somebody bought a plot of land and they just decided to live in their own community. In their own plot of land.
Yeah, no, that was a different one. See, he did another one with Zooey Deschanel and I think Mark or Donnie Wahlberg or something like that.
I don't remember this.
That shit was trash.
Yeah.
But the last ones that I knew of that were good, were Unbreakable, which is part of the Split
Part
and
of the
Glass
Split
trilogy.
and Glass. Yeah, I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen any of them,
But I know
knew
they're
of them.
popular, yeah.
They were really good. And then the Sixth
Sense.
Sense.
Yo, I watched that movie too young, and it scares me to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like when he gets locked into that room and he gets like, there's like scratches all over him.
I remember that.
That's crazy.
That was a wild movie.
Oh, or the kid who's like, yo, let me show you where my dad keeps his gun. And he turns around, his head's blown off.
That shit was wild.
That was crazy.
Oh, and Signs. Signs was good.
Oh, yeah. Signs was really good, too.
Anyway.
Yeah.
He had a prime. And then
he
fell. And I think he's trying to come back.
So he's doing a thriller for Apple. And then Rob McElhenney? McElhenney? I don't know. And Charlie Day. They have a comedy. They're the guys that do It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Got it.
And then
so an Apple exclusive. Always Sunny. That's gonna be interesting.
Which should be really cool because It's Always Sunny is such a good show. You know that most of that show is improvised.
Really?
Yeah. They just have like a basic premise, and then they have a scene and basically like a start where they want to start. And then an end and where they want it to go, and then the rest of it is just like completely improvised. It's amazing. It's an incredible show. Yeah.
Well done.
So, but so the Apple streaming service is really interesting because they're including other things into it. So, for example, like Netflix isn't other streaming services. I should say, not things. Netflix is not going to be joining Apple streaming services, which.
Wait, when you say they're not going to be joining, what do you mean?
I don't think that their like programming is going to be on Apple, which makes sense.
Got it. No, that makes sense.
But also, I'm not sure if that means that Apple's streaming service can also house other streaming services, because it is a hardware and a software company now. Could they create a deal where they have like, you know how you can pay for like apps on the App Store and have like recurring payments? How you used to be able to do subscription plans with Netflix? Yeah. I wonder if they could do that under the Apple streaming app. Ooh. So that you can just pay like one big bill and get Hulu, HBO Go, Netflix. Except Netflix is not going to join. But you know what I'm saying?
That would be smart. I think on Apple's end, just for license. But realistically, I don't know if the companies themselves are going to join that because they already have their own platforms and they already have their own means. They don't want to have Apple take a percentage for literally no reason.
So that's why I'm kind of confused as to what it means when they say Netflix isn't joining the Apple streaming services.
Yeah, that one is... I'm going to assume that just means that they're going to still... Like, Netflix is going to have its own app. They're not going to try and port over Netflix shows and kind of, like, consolidate everything into one thing. Netflix is still going to be a competing service on the Apple Store, but it'll still be its own competing service, which is cool. You know, it's healthy. You know, we don't like monopolies. Monopolies are bad.
So they're apparently unveiling a television and video service.
Interesting. So what's the television service about?
I don't know. It's really interesting. I think it might be something similar to like Sling.
Okay, so it's like internet TV type thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, that would totally make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a natural extension, you know. Internet TV, internet movies, internet, like, you know, on-demand stuff versus real live stuff. They might as well just try and corner that market for their own self. So I get it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's the service, or like a general overview of it. So if anybody has, you know, Apple products, go check that out. Let us know what that's like.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Apple products, but I'm not. So interestingly enough, even though we talk about it, I personally am only going to be dedicated to like one or two streaming services max. Well, that's a lie. I currently have...
I don't know, man.
I currently have Amazon Prime, but that's indirectly. Like, I pay for the Prime service for the shipping, right? And the benefits that come with, like, the 2-day, all that stuff. And the Prime Video comes as a result. But, you know, the only ones that I actually consistently pay for are Hulu and Netflix. Those two just kind of cover everything, TV and movies.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like there's so many that are coming out because like not only is Apple creating a streaming service, but Disney's creating a streaming service, the Disney Plus service, that's just meant to house like all family friendly Disney products. So like you'll see like all the original like Cinderella, Snow Whites, all the Marvel films, which are all family friendly. Probably all Pixar. Most of them are. I mean, most of them are what, PG-13?
Oh, okay. So when they say family friendly, they mean like PG-13 and below.
They mean PG-13 and below. Hulu, which is also owned by Disney, is going to house their more adult products, shows. Products.
Right. Well, so Hulu is actually owned by ABC, which is owned by Disney, which is why all that makes sense.
And it's crazy because like Disney, once they come out with their streaming service, they're gonna pull everything. So for like all Marvel, all Fox, all Lucasfilm, which is Star Wars, that one crazy Michael Jackson movie. I just found out the other day though that Michael Jackson was in this movie called Captain EO, and it was written by George Lucas. And it was directed by Frank Ford Coppola, the guy who directed the Godfather movies.
Damn. Wait, was it the because I remember there was a Michael Jackson movie. It was like, it wasn't Unbreakable or something like that, where it was like you saw his face and then like his face breaks into like a million pieces. Like look up Michael Jackson Unbreakable movie or something like that.
I don't know, man. This one he wears a white suit. In this one, okay, so Michael Jackson. What did you say? His face breaks into a million pieces. Yeah. This is such a weird Google search.
Just try like face shatter or something like that.
I think it's just gonna pull up stuff about how he changed his face.
We'll see.
It's just gonna be like.
So wait, go to images. Damn,
yeah, it's just pictures of Michael Jackson's face when he was black and then when he was
a zombie. and then
a zombie and then white.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll never know. But they are coming out with their own service as well, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And it says it's slated for late 2019. So you're probably going to see. So I guess then where does that put? Because we were talking about this. Where does that put like their Marvel series that came out, or like the darker Marvel series that came out on Netflix?
That's on Hulu. That just ports over to Hulu. They're going to remove everything from Netflix by late 2019. Oh. And all that stuff, all the darker material is going to move over to Hulu because that's their more adult platform. Disney Plus is strictly going to be PG-13 and below. I'm pretty sure PG-13 and below. But it's only going to focus on family-friendly stuff. So most of their like larger releases, like anything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is probably going to be released on Disney Plus.
I mean, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Which is crazy. But just the fact that they own so much, I mean, like I can imagine that they're probably going to have like a live TV option because they also own ESPN and ABC.
But that does give us an incentive. So because they are a newer service and they're trying to put in, they're pumping a bunch of money into, we don't know how much Disney is pumping into original content creation, but I know that they are going to be creating original content on the Disney Plus side, especially new Marvel series like Daredevil,
new Star Wars
Jessica
series,
Jones, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So on the music tip, that means there are definitely going to be opportunities for placements. There's definitely going to be room for, or not room, but they're definitely going to be creating a lot more content and seeking a lot more music to license and create for these original shows. So keep that in mind, musicians, creators, anybody, like keep a lookout for what Disney's doing. And see what kind of shows are coming out of there. So, like, if Insecure on HBO, for example, Issa Rae is kind of known for bringing in not undiscovered, but like underrated or just like
up and coming
talent and music on her show and licensing that. And I feel like that's going to be the move on some of the shows, not all the shows, but some of the shows. I feel like there's going to be a lot more up and coming talent appearing on Disney Plus just to kind of bring that market in, to kind of take people away from the HBO and entice people to move over from Netflix and those kind of things. So that is an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen and others, for you to be making shit for movies. Get on that.
And on top of that, though, weren't we just reading that like Warner Media is also making their own streaming service?
Yep. Warner Media's making one. HBO's already doing their own thing, but who else is making one?
I don't even know. There's so many. I was reading about it the other day too.
Oh, DC's making one.
Oh yeah, DC.
That's wild. So Marvel, DC is gonna have their own. Walmart. Well, Vudu is technically owned by Walmart, I think.
Vudu is? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just look at a list of the ones you can already subscribe to.
Okay.
All right. Netflix, Hulu.
Yep.
Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime,
right.
you get their video service, so you should definitely check out their original shows.
And Marvelous Miss Maisel is on Amazon Prime, and it's one of my favorite shows.
So was The Man in the High Castle, which is a really great show. My uncle works on that show. It's
really, really
very,
good show.
very cool show. YouTube Premium, HBO Now, Stars, Showtime, CBS All Access. Add on top of that whatever Warner Media is coming up with, Disney Plus, and
DC.
Apple. And DC. Holy shit.
So it's interesting that we have a lot of these modular packages now. You know, we're moving away. We've been moving away from the cable. You know, we're all cable cutting, and we're kind of just choosing what works for us. But it's still, it's funny how we're still ending up in these sort of packages, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not just a matter of choosing what you want. I mean, it is a matter of choosing what you want, but in order to get the content you actually want, you have to pay premium prices for it. So you're still, the costs are slowly adding up. It's no longer just, $7.99 for all the content that you were going to get on cable. I mean, that was never the case. You were never going to get everything, but it's slowly getting to that point where we're I guess companies are trying to adapt and still make that bread by making all these modular services that, are all $5.99 or $6.99, but then only putting them on, if you want to upgrade or if you want to get certain capabilities. So if you want to see
Ultra
this,
HD.
right. It's sneaky little fees.
But then on top of that, it's still going to go back to your ISP anyway, because most ISPs, internet service providers, only give you a terabyte of data per month.
Very true.
And streaming services, I mean, that's where you use most of your data. So if you're watching TV all the time by these services that you're purchasing, you're inevitably going to have to get an unlimited data plan.
If you get to that point.
You get to that point,
terabytes are pretty high, I grant you.
They are.
But Ultra HD content is also very high.
It's also very high. The quality is only going to go up.
Only going to go up.
So, I don't know. It's crazy because I'm wondering if it's going to cost more and it's going to cause people to go back to cable or something.
I don't think we're ever going to go back to cable.
But we're going to need something that's a lot more inclusive than just all these separate modular.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to move more into user-created content. Like, the more we go on... Well, think about it now. We're moving into podcasts. Podcasts are becoming... You're going on the rise because there's no fee. There's no FCC regulation. Well, maybe the FCC regulation, but there's no censorship. You can do what you want, and you can find your own audience for free. I feel like the move by maybe 5 years from now, we're going to see a lot more user-generated platforms, user-generated content, user-generated audiences. I just feel like this is the direction we're going because streaming... Everything kind of gets, not just streaming, but a lot of things kind of get to a point when a company reaches it and tries to utilize it, or when other companies try to utilize something that one company's done. Yeah, that's when shit starts going downhill.
Yeah.
So that's my only concern with this whole thing is that not that everybody's going to create a streaming service. It's this, you're just going to get this saturation of the market, and nobody's going to really know what to choose at this point. They're like, okay,
I mean, and it's crazy because this streaming music. I feel has been around before streaming video.
Yeah.
And we still only have Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal, and Amazon, Pandora. There's a few, but they each have their own niche of what they do. But
Pandora is radio. It started as on-demand radio. Spotify actually, like I said, started as peer-to-peer music, which if you don't know about this, so Spotify actually started when I heard about it, it was based out of Europe still, and it was strictly limited to the UK and Sweden or something like that. But when it gained access, or when the US gained access to it, at that time it was still a peer-to-peer service, meaning that the songs that you were hearing and all the storage was kind of supported by the people using it. So if you're familiar with LimeWire or anything, if you're familiar with torrents, BearShare, anything that was pirating back in the day, Napster, Yazoo, or anything like that, then you're familiar with P2P, which is peer-to-peer. And peer-to-peer means like directly a client to another client, as opposed to going through a middle server type thing. Right now, they operate on a server basis where everything's stored on their servers or servers they host out. You know, so everybody can reach this central server and get access to the highest quality files at any time.
Right.
But originally, Spotify started as peer-to-peer, so all of their file hosting needs and quality was dependent on whoever was using the service. So say if your friend had a copy of, your favorite album, your favorite Jay-Z album, and it was like 128 kilobits per second,
right.
You could connect, or if he was closer to you, you could connect to him. But, say you wanted to reach that higher quality, somebody had like a 320 copy, you would have to be either closer to them or like select just different variations of those files,
right?
Because they had like several copies, like LimeWire did, and then they slowly started shifting into like a regular music service, and then somehow took over. It was weird, but and then that was always their kind of. They always wanted to be that niche, and then they kind of shifted. But Apple, for example, has always been in the store market. They've always been downloads and streaming,
right?
Well, not necessarily streaming, but specifically downloads. They've always had a central location to go and purchase
and
music.
then went into streaming.
Yeah, then went into streaming with Apple Music.
So, but the thing with video, though, and video content is that it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive to create because, like, honestly, anybody with a laptop could create music and upload it up to all the services without different, I could upload to Tidal and Apple Music and Spotify.
Right. And that's now, though.
And that's now.
Yeah.
Right. Which, so I can imagine that at some point, like Tidal has said, these, you can only get Beyonce on Tidal.
Right.
You can only get like most of Jay-Z's work or whatever on Tidal. Do you think that's going to happen? Like, do you think like Spotify's
exclusives already happened? Chance did an exclusive deal with Apple themselves to release
but it doesn't continue to happen though. Like, it's not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas like in a video sense, like when you're filming something, like that's like millions of dollars,
right,
to film something, and no streaming service is going to be okay with like, all right, yeah, we'll pay you to film this thing, and yeah, you can put it up on Netflix too. We don't mind.
Right.
Nobody's going to do that.
And the thing is, those make sense. Like the exclusive deals now that are kind of that are happening are it's for a specific time period.
Right.
So like they get the initial exclusive, so it'll be like a month or 6 months or whatever the time frame is. And that makes sense. Just as a business who's invested money into this video, which is incredibly expensive, they want to make sure they get a return on it, and they bring highlight to their own company. Like that's just a business move.
Unless we start seeing more production companies with investors creating content and then licensing the content to different streaming services at different points in time.
Which is that's what's happening. You have a lot of people who are just coming in with their own teams, coming in with their own production, and just saying, hey, we'll license this to you for such and such. And
I
honestly,
wonder how those deals are in.
That's how it should be done. Like, for example, when Netflix licenses a show, or when you see something come off of Netflix, like, That 70 show or on off, those shows are being licensed to Netflix.
Well, yeah, because they're being syndicated.
They're being syndicated.
Online.
But they have to pay for that. Netflix didn't create that content, so they're licensing out. And I feel like we're going to see a lot of more of that, or we're going to see a lot more of that licensing thing when people get more capability to create that content. Right now, we still don't have, as independent creators, that much without an investor's influence. But because we're shifting, the landscape is shifting from labels or production companies to teams, and then hiring out and finding private investors and developing a core team. I feel like we're going to see a lot more of that licensing out to companies instead of them producing content and exclusively holding it. I think that's a good move, though.
I think that would be really cool. Speaking of, though, licensing and deals, Cuco made a pretty historic move.
So round of applause for Cuco.
Week.
Just got signed to a 7-figure deal with Interscope Records. And that was after 2 years of just like talking and a bidding war between other labels. Like there were just a bunch of negotiations going on. But he's just landed a 7-figure deal with Interscope Records. Now, full disclosure, how we feel, how I feel. I'm not against labels at all. I am not. No. I'm like, major labels work for other people. They don't work for some people. But the fact that he has been able to negotiate owning all of his masters and have a 7-figure deal, That's huge.
Crazy.
That is, as a new artist, as an up and coming artist, that's unheard of. That is unprecedented.
Yeah.
Because you don't come into those kind of negotiations, expecting to own your masters. Period. It's always they own it, and then they license, or they give you a cut of the profits, which again ranges anywhere from like 1 to 20% of your own song. But he not only now. In this case, because we don't know the full details of the deal, we can only speculate. And because it is a 7-figure deal, I imagine, and he owns his masters, I imagine they're going to be recouping a lot, right? But he's basically, I would assume that it's kind of a licensing deal, which ultimately, I really think that's the only realistic thing you would be doing if you own your masters. They would be licensing it from you. But I do believe that they probably would be licensing a higher percentage, like probably anywhere in the like 90-95% range, just to recoup until a certain point. I again don't know the details of his deal, but it would make sense on both sides if it were an exclusive license type deal with like a 90-95% recuperation percentage until recoup, and then it would probably lower after the recoupment. But again, that is something that's unheard of for a new artist.
It's crazy because I feel like he has a better deal than most major artists today.
So
many. Like better deal than like Cardi B or like Ariana Grande or Kendrick Lamar or Lil Yachty.
Or Kanye.
Yeah, Kanye.
Even Kanye.
He's got a way better deal than Kanye. And that's crazy.
And I just recently heard Kanye was was he sued by EMI or was he?
Yeah, so he's in legal battles right now. I don't know if we talked about this already, but I know I've been talking about it.
Yeah, no, we haven't talked about this on the show. So.
I don't think we talked about this on the show, yeah. But yeah, so Kanye, he's been trying to buy back his own music, and 2, there is like a clause in his contract that basically says he can't take a hiatus for a long period of time without like he couldn't be like, I'm gonna take a year off or like I'm gonna take a few months off or whatever. He has to continually work on an album, somebody else's work, or just music in general.
Right. So it doesn't have to be his album. Which is why he can get away with, dropping a new project every 2-3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Of his own. But he's, you notice he's still working on Push's album, or he's working with Kid Cudi, or he's working with whoever's on Good music label. So he's constantly working. And it's funny, it's just ironic that his one statement about, he's like, slavery, that sounds like a choice, with his own deal is essentially slavery.
Musical slavery.
It's just kind of, but anyway.
And
Cuco,
it's a bummer. It's such a bummer.
It's a huge bummer because he is literally a slave to his deal.
Yeah.
And Cuco is one of the first ones who's breaking that mold. So, I mean, just a huge congrats to him for that one.
Not only that, but like he also has what they're calling a no true album commitment.
What is that?
It means that he doesn't necessarily have to release an album. He just has to release a set number of songs. So if he doesn't want to do an album, I think that they're saying that he's going to release his first album this summer. But that's also under this no true album commitment, which means that...
Got it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He doesn't, yeah.
FYI, the legal definition of an album is 10. And then not just legal, but as far as Billboard's concerned or the Nielsen ratings or anything...
The SoundScan ratings,
yeah. Nielsen SoundScan. The legal and official definition of an album is a compilation of work from an artist or artist, whatever the case would be, consisting of 10 or more songs. EP is anything less than that.
Is anything less than that?
Yeah. Okay, and then the single would be obviously a single or 1 to 2 songs. So the fact that in traditional deals you have 1, album commitments, and 2, options. And options basically are the option for the company or the label to make you produce more. So typically they'll say, we want 3 albums with options, and that means that you have to produce at least 3, and they have the right to possibly negotiate you doing more before you exit your deal.
Oh, damn.
Which sucks.
That's crazy.
On top of that, it's usually compiled with a 360 deal, which is what a lot of the newer artists are nowadays.
I'm pretty sure Lil Yachty was in a 360.
Lil Yachty's in 360 deal.
Yeah.
Cardi B.
And he didn't even know it.
He didn't even know it, which is crazy. So if you heard the Joe Budden podcast, shout out to them.
Yeah.
He went on. Oh, no. It wasn't on the Joe Budden podcast. It was on when Joe Budden was still on Complex.
Yes. I remember they were talking to him and they asked him, like, yo, are you in a 360 deal? Mm-hmm. And he wasn't sure. He goes, I don't know what that means.
And that's a scary thing.
That's terrifying.
To be in a major label deal and not know what you're in, that's such a scary thing because you are definitely going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
100%.
So a 360 deal, we've talked about it before, but it basically means that the label that you're with owns everything that you do and gets paid off of everything that you do.
Everything.
So that means if you're doing a commercial for Sprite, like Lil Yachty, they're making money off of that.
Not the music. Doesn't have to do anything with music. As long as it's relating to you or your brand, they get a check, which is crazy.
Wow.
And they get to basically keep you in that past, well, like for a certain time frame past your contract as well. So say you suddenly quit. No matter what, they still get to be in, you're still in that 360 deal for another 2 to 5 years. 2 would be generous. It's normally like 5 years that you're still obligated to be paying them. And that's a scary thought. That even if you exit your deal, you're still obligated to give this company money of your own content for another 5 years.
That's insane.
That's the type of deal that is normal.
Yeah.
Normal, right?
That's scary, man.
And then
what
else do we have here? So you said that, wow.
Yeah. Because he's a Latin artist, they're also going to be getting support from Universal Music Latin Entertainment.
Latin America. That's crazy.
Because they're partnered with Interscope. So they're going to release his music in Latin America. So they're literally going to hit the U.S. market and the Latin American market.
Which is, you would think, oh, that's the same thing. It's not.
It's not.
The thing that you have to understand about the music market is that it is so uniquely segregated in the sense that there are entire worlds that can exist in like a music artist's audience that somebody in a neighboring country could have no idea about. Like, for example, you can have a Latin American artist who has 38 million, 40 million followers, right? Like J Balvin.
J Balvin.
He
Rosalia.
Yeah. They all, well,
Bad Bunny.
And Rosalia was put on by J Balvin. He is operating, I think he's like number 3 in the world on Spotify.
For real?
Yeah. Like he's up there.
I did not know this.
But I literally only heard of him because of Rosalia. But besides that, his own audience, say Instagram, socials, that kind of thing, he's at millions. But I can guarantee you, the majority of the States, the UK, have no idea who that is, or if they've heard of him, maybe like one song. But he dominates the Latin American market.
He's second in the world for monthly listeners. Jesus.
And that's just because of the Latin American market. That has nothing to do with Asia. That has nothing to do with Africa. That has nothing to do with America. That is just Latin America. That's South America. That's Spain. That's
just to put it into
Not Spain,
perspective.
but
that would be Spain.
That's not Latin American, but it's Latin.
But it's Spanish speaking. To put it into perspective, Cardi B is 24th in the world.
Right.
This man is more popular than Cardi B.
And we've never heard of him.
And we've never heard of him. And he's playing Lollapalooza this year.
Yeah. We've never heard of the power of different markets.
Crazy.
It's mind-boggling how, like I said, just how different and how segregated you can have entire success in one country.
There's so many French artists too.
So many.
That like Angélie. Mm-hmm. Angélie is an incredible French artist and she's blowing up, but nobody in the States really knows who she is.
That's crazy.
Like, as far as like mainstream audiences.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
And that's what it is. Right now, because all of these different companies, Spotify, Apple Music, they all have different deals with different countries, and none of them have reach in every country. You know, Apple I think would probably be the closest to being 100% global, but not even on the Apple Music tip. That would just be on the iTunes tip. I believe, I have to still look this up, but I believe they, on the iTunes tip, are 100% global and reach every country, and every continent. But Spotify doesn't yet. They only reach 69 countries or something. They just recently got into South Africa, into Egypt and something like that. But again, all of these, they're just segments. It's a very segmented kind of industry. And, the whole race is to try and figure out which one you want to pop in on, or like which you pop off on, and which ones you can pop off on. For example, I have a friend, a Korean artist, his name's Dean, and he's hugely popular, like celebrity.
Oh, he's huge.
In Korea, right?
He's huge.
And in the Asian market. But he is just moving over to the U.S. market, and he's doing well, but he's at like 1.7 million followers on Instagram. And like millions of followers and other things, but I can guarantee you only like 1 out of 20 people that I know would know who he is.
I only know him through you and my friend Brittany, who lives in Philly, and she's like huge into Dean.
Right.
And I remember one time I was randomly talking about you, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he's talking to this guy named Dean," and she goes, "No shit, he's talking to Dean," and I was like, "Yeah." I don't really know what that means, but she freaked out.
But he's
That's
huge.
Amazing. Yeah, he's huge.
But in Asia.
In Asia.
Not in the States.
Yeah.
They're very, very different markets. So the fact that, to bring it home, the fact that Cuco is not only getting a distribution and deal for the U.S. market and whatever markets that Interscope has access to. So that's obviously the U.K., Europe, things like that.
Yep.
He's also getting direct access to Universal Music Latin Entertainment, which is a whole other market.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think it is, but it is.
Oh, it's huge.
It's
I mean, you're talking
huge.
all of Latin America, all of South America, Spain, Portugal.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's a big market. I mean, that's bigger than the U.S.
It is. And he owns his masters still.
And he owns his masters.
So well done, Cuco.
Congratulations.
Like, well
Him
done.
and Mija Dores. Amazingly well done. Yeah. So, speaking of music, Naji.
Oh, yeah. So
There's this little thing about
me quitting music.
you quitting music. What's up with that?
So I'm not quitting per se, but the artist that you know as Naji, right? The artist formerly known as Naji. I'm going to be shifting. And it's not to say that Naji will cease to exist, but there's definitely going to be a shift come by 2020. You're going to. I'm working on several other projects that I really want to devote time to, and Naji has always kind of been, like I've told Louise, the beginning for me. So it's always been this kind of just experimental, accidental success. Honestly, because I started singing about a potato, and people liked it, and I was like, oh, okay, but I had no intention of singing ever. I had no intention of really just being a singer-songwriter or what people resonate with the most, which is, the singing and songwriting. I started as a drummer. I started as a producer. Those are the things that I wanted to do for a long time. And I incorporate elements of that into all my music, yes. But the further I get into Naji and the more people get comfortable with a certain sound and what they expect from an artist and a certain brand that they develop,
Right.
the further, the less you can kind of branch out with that one. Unless you do a whole ass rebrand, you're pretty much gonna, in order to succeed, you're gonna stay in your whatever lane you've created and kind of grow in that lane.
Right.
Again, it's not any predetermined lane. It's whatever lane you've set for that artistry. If you want to make a brand succeed, you have to stick with it. You have to be consistent. You have to show that consistency and just build and grow with your friends.
Yeah.
And if your brand is that you're always changing, that's a great thing. But if your brand is that you're an R&B singer, then you're gonna have to evolve in R&B, right?
Yeah.
Even if you want to go to anything else,
True.
people are gonna always know you as the R&B singer. It's like if Trey Songz came out tomorrow as a rapper, it's not that it's so far-fetched, but it's just like,
It's like that one time that Lil Wayne decided to do a rock album.
Right.
And it's like, I mean...
Like, we respect the artistry.
I respect it. But also, Lil Wayne, the name, the brand, is a rapper. So anybody who knows Lil Wayne is, the moment they hear he's doing a rock album, is going to be, I mean, people
like,
just...
and of course, you're going to have the people that support him, right?
Yeah.
But you clearly know that was an experiment. That was a trial run for him to just branch out and try and be an artist. But even he went back. He was like, cool, I did my thing. Now I'm going back to the lane that I created in the rap game. And he's dominating that. And that's how he's found success in that.
Yeah.
And for me, I've reached a point with Naji, not to say that I'm like 100% popular or anything like that. Like, I'm just like, I'm not a celebrity or anything.
Yeah.
But I've reached a point creatively where I feel like Naji has kind of served its purpose for me in the sense that I really used it as a birthday. Like, it's not a training grounds, but just like
it's like a phase.
Fertile grounds.
Like,
it is a huge experiment to try and determine what I can do with my voice, with my instruments, with my talents, and figure out what lanes that belong in.
Yeah.
And Naji, which is why you've always heard me do random ass songs, just because I really wanted to try. Yeah, there's never been a clear cut, Naji is this, because he isn't this. It isn't that. It was always just an experiment. So I'm getting to a point now where I am comfortable with giving it a direction and moving the other directions that I want to go into two separate projects, because I want to do them justice and allow them to grow their brand as those directions. Naji is so far spread out at this point that if I just go in one direction, I'm gonna not offend, but I'm gonna upset some people. Not that it's not that I'm trying to cater to a specific audience or specific people. I'm not saying, I'm gonna upset somebody, so I shouldn't do this. I just know that I personally have grown past my experimentation phase. Obviously, I'm still experimenting, but I've grown past the point where I need to do as many things as possible.
Right.
And now I can kind of put it into a space where I know what direction Naji should be in, and I know what direction I want to go in with other projects and different projects and projects that are more meaningful to me. It got to a point where Naji almost kind of felt like a day job, and it's not that it isn't good. It's just like, when you start losing that sense of enjoyment from your work, that's a problem. You know that you're not in your highest space.
Yeah.
You're not doing something that's fulfilling you.
Yeah.
It might fulfill a check or a need for a check, but that's not your whole life. You need the fulfillment of your artistry. And I feel like it was just slowly moving away from that. And I was like, all right, I need to really identify what I want to do. And ultimately, that was to move away from being a solo act. Like, I've never really wanted to be a solo act. I've always wanted to be in groups. I've always wanted to work behind the scenes with a team, and
I feel you, man.
And develop that.
I feel you. The only reason that I started the two projects that I did, and did, like, quote unquote, like a solo thing, is because the group that I was with had ended, and I still want to do music. I mean, I'm very passionate about music, so I was just like, I guess I have to do it on my own at this point in time. But I feel like I've always been, I don't know, just the collaborative space, being in the same room with somebody and creating music with somebody. I mean, there's nothing like that, like that sort of spark or that magic that happens. And I think it's lonely when you're by yourself.
It really is.
It's super lonely when you're in and then, it's like fun to make music on your own, but at the same time, it's
and
like...
some people need it, right?
Yeah.
Some people need that space. And it's not that I don't ever need space to make music alone. I'm not saying that. It's just, I've always appreciated that collaborative effort. Like, utilizing everybody's skills, everybody's little influences and ticks that make this bigger thing than you could have yourself.
Yep.
And that's just where I am, So what you're going to see over the time span of, next year or this year into next year is just that shift. So Naji's going to be taking a back burner. And I can't really name the other projects yet or even really speak about what they are. But know that they are going to be probably the most accurate depictions of who I am musically. Honestly, between the three, between Naji and the other two projects, I'll say there are two projects that I'm working on. It's probably going to be the most accurate and healthy representation of me musically, the trifecta, if you will. And I'm excited about that.
The holy trinity of Kenyatta.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what's necessary for my artistry. That might not be necessary for everybody else.
Yeah.
They might be able to just stick with one. But for me, I find fulfillment in having outlets for very dark ideas or very light ideas or very playful ideas.
Right.
And not having to, fit everything into one thing. I like everything having a place, And people do too. They like going to a specific person for a vibe. If you want to cry, you go to Frank Ocean. That's guaranteed.
You guaranteed tears.
I mean?
I'm pretty sure he wrote it on the album. There's a disclaimer: guaranteed tears or your money back.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't go to John Mayer to head bash. Like that's
no.
It's just not. I mean, if it happens once, it's like, oh shit, that was dope. But that's not your intention.
No, it's true.
And
it's
for me, I'm at the point where I can finally set that intention. For Naji, it was an experiment, and it continually will be. I'll still be putting out experimental things on Naji, but the other projects will really have a proper direction, and that's what I've wanted for the longest time. And they'll include vocals, absolutely, but definitely going to be more of the full spectrum of what I do. And
amazing.
What other people do too, because it's collaborative.
I think that's honestly that's a pretty brave thing to say. It's pretty brave, yeah. Because we were having this conversation over like coffee. You weren't drinking. I was drinking coffee over my coffee one day.
I don't drink coffee.
You were drinking tap water. Municipal tap water. Get it at your nearest tap. But yeah, we were having this conversation one day, and I was actually working on this EP that I've been working on, and I just felt like. I think I started the conversation off with you as just being like, I just feel like I'm not putting everything that I am into this project, and I don't think that's a good thing.
Right.
And that just set off this whole chain of events of this conversation just evolving of just like, if you're not 100% into something, then you need to look at what's wrong with that and search for what you actually want to do. Because you should be 100% excited about the project that you're
absolutely
doing. You should be like ecstatic, and that would show in the music, and that would show in the artistry, and that would show in how everything else is portrayed within the brand. Because it's being worked on like it's the most important thing.
Right. And if it's not the most important thing, that's a problem.
Yeah. It's time for a shift.
It's time for a shift.
It's time for a change.
You always want to, in life in general, like always aim for your highest self.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not being your highest, truest self in whatever the case may be, but especially in your artistry, the thing that's supposed to represent you and your creativity, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
And again, that highest self is very subjective. Cardi B's highest self is an entirely different highest self than mine.
Yeah.
Her highest self could genuinely be she just wants to talk about money and stripping and having a great time.
She needs a jet. She needs room for her legs.
Like if that's your highest self,
she got a baby. She needs cheese for that egg.
Run with that shit. If that is what makes you happy, yes. Do that.
Yeah.
But if you're only doing that because of what what it's supposed to be or what it should be or what your team says, that's not it. That's not it. Change. Shift.
I know for myself, like I don't like writing music on my own. I just don't like it. And I've done it for a while now, and it's just not my thing. I love collaborating too much. So for me, it's like finding a space where I can collaborate. I don't know why I said space really weird. Finding a spice. But, finding a place where I'm more comfortable, and that's going to allow me to shine, better than just doing things on my own. And if doing things, like Naji was saying, if doing things on your own is how you prefer it, like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any of that. For most major artists, there are songs that they write fully themselves, and then there are songs where they collaborate with other people. There are bands that constantly collaborate. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just what you're most comfortable with that's going to push the artistry to the highest level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in closing, not even in closing, I mean, that's really all we have to say. It's just, that I'm not quitting. I'm just shifting.
Shifting.
So you'll see. We'll see where it goes. That being said, there are new projects coming from Naji relatively soon. I'm not going to say when, but relatively soon. And I'm going to be working on the other projects. So just stay tuned. And if you have any questions for me, show us love.
Heck yeah.
Hit us up on Thousand Story. Well, on the website, thousandstory.com.
Yeah.
Or on our socials at thousandstory_. That's Twitter and Instagram. Let us know what you feel about it, like what you feel about the whole indie versus major game, what about streaming services, about me quitting, or if you want to hit us up directly, you can find me at Mr. Naji Boy. That's MrNajiBoy.
Yes, and you can find me at El Pontillo. That's ELPONTILLO. Hit me up on there.
But also, leave us reviews. Like,
yes.
If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on, some of that shit. If you're on Apple Podcasts, send us some stars. If it's 1 star, 1 star that shit. If it's 5 stars, 5 star that shit. Spotify, you can't really do anything on. But
no,
wherever you can, just find a way to let us know how we're doing.
Yeah.
And we will continue to just be putting out information and spreading love and spreading knowledge and spreading stories from people we enjoy and people we work with.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do we got going on next episode?
Oh, shit, man. I completely forget every episode. I feel like people are going to not believe me that I keep forgetting every episode. But, I get so invested in the things that we're talking about that I forget that this happens.
That's why I do what I do.
Okay. So next week, we're actually going to be talking about, how to turn your closet into a business on Depop, bitch. Ooh. Yeah. I never sold anything on Depop. Just disclaimer. These are just my theories. But I think it can be done.
I think it could be done, too. But until next time, my name is Naji.
My name is Luis.
And this has been the Thousand Story Podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Peace out.
Later.